Welcome back. My name is Nick, and I have Kyle here with me. Pecos with the 0 on Instagram. Go check him out. He's a super talented artist. He does our pre-sketches for shirt designs. By the way, here's one outie for the next show. We're going to be covering Severance, and we got Dune stuff. So go to AsArt.space to get the shirts and all the cool links. And we're doing more His Dark Materials. This is the deep dive, continuing down the river of deepness into the dive.
And tonight is ladies' night, all right? It's nothing but gal characters from the book.
Yes, we're doing 3 in a row. We are doing Lyra, we are doing Serafina Pekkala and Mary Malone. And just so you know, we did the Land of the Dead, we did the Harpies, we did John Perry, we did Mulefa, we did Galavespians. There's so many we have done at this point. And Mrs. Coulter. We've done so many deep dives. Subscribe, watch them all. It's been so much fun. Just in case, spoilers if you haven't completed the show, and also if you haven't read the books. All right, Kyle, let's go deep.
All right. So, Lyra. So we're gonna, again, like some of the other deep dives we've done, this is gonna take us up to the beginning of the book series, and then after the book series. So what happens before and after, with just a little bit of the Book of Dust trilogy being touched on.
Kind of sprinkled around.
Sprinkling it around. We're treading a fine line here. Okay, so for Lyra's early life, so everyone should know by now that Marissa Coulter is Lyra's mother. So if you didn't know that, and this was a revelation, go watch the show or read the books. I don't care which. Marissa fell in love and had an affair with the rich and famous explorer Lord Asriel while married to the politician Edward Coulter. So not the best situation, but that's, at least we know that's where she got her last name from. Yeah. It was clear that when Lyra was born, she wasn't Edward's daughter. So Marissa told everyone that the child had died, and hid Lyra. Great mother stuff right off the bat. And sent Lyra to Oxfordshire, where Lord Asriel had several estates, like one gentleman does with a lord in his title, placed in the care of Egyptian nurse while she was there. Now, however, it wasn't long before someone told Edward about his wife's actions. So he found his way onto Asriel's land with the intent to kill Lyra, a newborn baby. So kind of intense. Although Asriel was away hunting, he received word of this and was able to return home in time to defend his daughter and her nurse. Seriously, this is the most heroic Asriel's ever been for his daughter, it sounds like. Where was this guy in the main trilogy?
Where was Rohan when the West Wing fell? Oh, no. Where was Gondor when the West Wing fell?
Thank you, Nick. I'll check that off on my chart here. He's made a Lord of the Rings reference. All right, cool. Anyway, and yes, there is an actual chart over there. All right, so Asriel killed Edward during the battle between them, but as a result, Asriel lost all his wealth to fines. So, proving revenue and customs seems to exist throughout the multiverse. And yes, you Brits, I made that joke just for you. Marissa wanted nothing to do with her daughter, and Lyra was put in the care of Godstow Priory. And for all you people who don't know what a priory is, it's also like similar to a nunnery, right? There's a bunch of nuns everywhere. And so Lyra settled in with the nuns with Sister Fenella as her main caretaker. So Malcolm Polstead, a boy from the Trout Inn across the River Thames from the Priory, would often visit Lyra. And Malcolm is actually one of the main protagonists of La Belle Sauvage. I looked up how to pronounce that because I was tired of mispronouncing it, and I hope for all of you 2 French viewers that I did you right. Anyway, during the flooding of Oxford in 1986, Lyra was rescued by Malcolm and Alice Parslow, who took her to Lord Asriel in London. So he wanted Lyra to be raised at Jordan College and brought the 3 back to Oxford in his gyrocopter. Badass. I wanted to build a gyrocopter when I was younger, but then realized how much money it cost and gave up that dream.
Wait,
anyway,
it
Lyra was given...
It costs money?
Well, so the instructions I bought were $149. It cost a bit. I was able to get a hold of them, but I was like, wow, it costs money to, build stuff. I was like 15 at the time. I'm like, oh man. Anyway, back to like the actual stuff. Sorry.
That was good. That was good.
So Lyra was given scholastic sanctuary at Jordan College, the first child to receive that status from the college. So, little aside here, scholastic sanctuary is the idea of giving sanctuary to an individual at an establishment of learning or other scholastic place. This is a custom in Lyra's world, which is very similar to the medieval concept in our world with claiming sanctuary at a church. So now begins her life at Jordan College, right? So Lyra was brought up at Jordan College with the scholars and professors and the servants, all the squares, all acting as a sort of collective family, right? So she was raised believing that her parents had died in an airship crash and that Lord Asriel was her uncle, right? Lyra lived, pretty undisciplined life in Oxford. She was, she was clever and curious and like extremely independent. And as a result, her education was, patchy, because she applied herself only to subjects that caught her interest, which were probably like 5 or something. Her favorite pastime was adventuring in and around the college with Roger Parslow.
Yep, Roger, good old Roger.
And she had a crush on a boy called Dick Orchard. No, I didn't stutter. That's his name. Who could spit further than anyone else. And I
can see Lyra falling for a boy like that.
Yeah, when you're a child. Also, when you're a child, the bar is pretty low. Let's be honest. All right. And then she would. So this is another little like this is adorable. But okay, so she would go to the market to see him and would then return to like her room and would clumsily kiss her pillow to see what kissing felt like. So I'm like, wow. I read that. I'm like, this is really cute for like a child. But then once you're like an adult, like once you're old enough to drink, it becomes really creepy. But anyway.
Are you saying that from experience?
I'm just saying. I'm just like, just think about it, right? Like, Nick, we agreed not to bring up anything in my personal life on this. No. Okay. All right. Life. Okay. So life after
he has not done that. It was a joke.
Let's not hope we didn't start a fan fiction or something. Okay. Life after the Authority War. So this is what happened after the whole events of the trilogy, right? So after the war, Lyra returned to Oxford, and she attended St. Sophia's School, a boarding school for girls. Now, she went on to study for a master's degree in economic history at St. Sophia's College, which was the alma mater of her mother. Right? She went there as well, or Marissa went there as well. She wrote a dissertation entitled Developments and Patterns of Trade in the European Arctic Region with particular reference to independent cargo balloon carriages from 1950 to 1970. Yes, that sounds like a run-of-the-mill dissertation to me, especially with the title.
It also sounds like that York really influenced her and Lee really influenced her.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the balloon carriage.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So roughly 6 years after returning to Oxford, around when she was like 24, Lyra's relationship with Pan began to crumble. I won't go any further as that kicks off a large part of the story arc for the Secret Commonwealth. But yeah, so that kind of gets us to that point.
It's
right?
that, witch power stuff. It's coming back to bite you in the butt.
It's coming back. Pan's like, peace out. You're just going to read books up in your room all day. You don't know me. Later, Square.
You don't know me.
I'm going to go to the ox pens and see all the cows and stuff. Anyway, so Lyra, just like a physical description of her from the book. So Lyra, is like, she's described as a thin girl who was short for her age. Her hair was dark blonde and she had pale blue eyes. So when Lyra was like 20, she had it dyed actually. She had it dyed dark brown and cut it short to help herself, to disguise herself as she traveled across Asia in one of her adventures, which we won't get into. But yeah. And then her personality, as I quote from the master of Jordan College himself, "You haven't found it easy to obey us, but we are very fond of you. You've never been a bad child. There's a lot of goodness and sweetness in your nature, and a lot of determination." So yeah, that's very sweet. Lyra was a rebellious and unruly child and often exasperated those who tried to care for her. So the Jordan housekeeper and her tutors, drove him
Yep.
insane, right? Though she received little formal education, she was quick-witted and canny. So she's got it, right?
She's a liar.
She's got street smarts, okay?
Yeah.
Lyra was also a compulsive liar, and I say was because she grew out of this habit during her time with the Harpies in the land of the dead. Right? That was a turning point for her. But
Yeah, because if she ever wants to make it out of the land of the dead, she has to
gotta
tell the
say
truth.
something true, yeah. And so her demon, Lyra's demon, is Pantalaimon, sometimes called Pan, whose final form took the shape of a pine marten,
Yep.
which I love as the smaller order of mammals. They're pretty cute. He shared many of her childhood adventures and often acted as the voice of reason when Lyra would follow her immediate emotions. So I feel that this reflects why Lyra can be so insightful and a good judge of someone's true intentions, right? Is that Pan is sort of reflecting that part of her, I think. So yeah. And that's it on Lyra. That's our
And it's very interesting because they in the book they went for the change with the hair color. I mean,
they did.
I don't know if they did that to separate themselves from the movie, because the Golden Compass movie, it's blonde hair, blue eyes.
It is, yeah. They really
and it's the same thing with Marissa Coulter, right? Blonde hair, blue eyes, right? It's that same kind of.
Yeah.
Or did she have blue eyes? I'm pretty sure she had blue eyes in the book too.
They looked very similar.
So they definitely went a different route with that, and it didn't affect me too much. It's like Harry Potter, right? He's always known for his green eyes in the book. They're like, you have your mother's eyes, you have your mother's eyes, and then in the show, the mother has green eyes and he has blue eyes because he had an issue with the contact lens. His eyes weren't reacting to it, so they had to just keep his blue eyes. So, obviously that's a huge part of the story. They're like, oh, you have your mother's eyes, but he does it in the movie. But anyways, but here at least her hair color matches her mom and her eyes matches her mom, kind of thing. So
yeah,
I think that, if you're going to do it, change everything with it. So at least it stays the same kind of thing.
Retcon the whole byline.
So overall, the story did a good job. The show did a good job with Lyra's story. It hit a lot of the main beats, right? Like she went to she fought her mom. I guess their demons fought. She traveled upriver. She went to the north. She got captured. She almost got spliced. Like the first season did such a good job with the book. Like they were hitting all the points. The whole busting Yorick out of jail or not out of jail, but busting, getting his armor and all that stuff. Like that all goes to plot. Season 2. Kind of pretty much the same. That's when you could tell they started to go offbeat a little bit. And I think it's just issues with jumping through worlds and multiple different people you start following at that time. And then it's like, oh, this Will's entered. But then 3, it was like off the rails where a lot of changes happened. But for the most part, the heart of Lyra's story is there, except for the liar part. They don't really focus on her lying that much in the show.
That's true.
Which is just interesting because in the book it's very heavy, like to the point where the Harpies start to blend her name with liar. It's like, they're calling her liar at the end, and it makes sense in the books because she needs to tell the truth, kind of thing. So
you mentioning that, Nick, reminded me of something. So I read it in the wiki, but Lyra's so Lyra was not a name in the English vernacular in terms of a name you gave to children. This book, hit Philip Pullman using the name Lyra, turned it into a name that people use now.
Oh, really?
Which was crazy. Yeah, because before it meant it was the Greek. It's Greek for lyre, the instrument, right? And then it also has a second meaning, but it was really only used in that capacity, not as a name. But after Philip Pullman used it as a name, people started using Lyra as a girl's name.
Oh, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
I like the idea too that it's the instrument too, because an instrument, most of the time, music's they tell stories, especially back in the day. The music was used to tell stories, and a big theme. Yeah, and a big thing of her story is to tell stories. She was so good at lying and telling stories and making up stuff, and there's that point in the book where she thinks she's the greatest liar in the world, and she hits the literal door and she can't get into the land of the dead because of her lies. It's like she can't lie to death, basically. And it's just so good the way he tied that in the book and all that stuff. So if you haven't read the book, I highly recommend it. If you haven't finished the show, I highly recommend just finishing the show too. Overall, they did such a good job with VFX and storytelling, and within the time they had to do it. Obviously, it wasn't one-to-one copy of the book. You're never gonna get that, but what we got was something good. Like, and they finished it. So I'm very happy with the final product. Is it the best thing? No. Is it the worst thing? No. But I'm happy with it, which is a tough thing to say nowadays with shows like Rings of Power.
like I've said, I'm just glad they got to the finish line.
Yeah,
because it's one whopper of a series to actually take on. To be honest,
no, it is.
So.
And compared to like Willow's terrible compared to like this kind of fantasy we're watching here. So.
I finished the season.
Oh, you did finish the season.
I did. I really slogged through it.
Oh, we can talk about that after this video. But if you want us to talk about it, comment down below if you want us to talk about Willow. We probably will. But and also subscribe to AsArt. Go to Instagram, follow Kyle on Instagram, Pecos with a 0. He's a super talented artist. He helps designs a lot of our shirts. This is the Audi shirt, which is a play
I did not design, but you know.
Well, which I did, but
that's right.
But, it's a play on Severance for the Lumen shirt. You have innies, outies. If you know, you know. We're going to be covering and doing deep dives of Severance coming up here. So subscribe to get all the good content, and we'll see you on the next AsArt. Raspy like a harpy. Raspy like a harpy.
Very good.
Let me cough up death. Very quick.